Hi everyone, I'm Christina Campbell. I work at Break Free Education. Happy Read Aloud Day and go Team Fantasy for our Unbound Readathon. I'm here to read a little excerpt or a short story actually from my favorite fantasy author, Leigh Bardugo, in her book, The Lives of Saints. So this is a short book with lots of short stories about saints that are part of the Grishaverse, which is the alternate world in which all of her stories take place. And I'm going to be reading Sancta Anastasia's story. Anastasia was a pious girl who lived in the village of Semna. Known as a great beauty, she had red hair, bright as a field of new poppies, and green eyes that shone like polished glass. This was what the villagers remarked upon when they saw her at market, whispering what a shame it was that Anastasia spent all her time lighting candles for her poor dead mother in the church and tending to her old father in their sad little house. A girl like that should be seen and celebrated, they said, and warned she would grow old before her time. But the villagers lost their taste for gossip when Semna was struck down with the wasting plague. They hadn't the strength to go to market or even church any longer. They lay in their beds, gripped by fever. No food could tempt them, and even when they were force-fed, they withered and eventually died. Anastasia did not sicken. Her father, afraid their neighbors would brand her a witch, kept his daughter in the house, hiding her plump limbs and rosy cheeks. But one morning, her father would not rise from bed. He would eat neither meat nor bread, nor any of the delicacies Anastasia prepared for him. A voice spoke to her as she knelt by the bed, praying to the saints for her father's life to be spared. When Anastasia rose, she knew what to do. She found her mother's sharpest knife and made a long, slender cut along her arm and filled the dish with her blood. She lifted it to her father's lips and bid him drink. "What is this delicious aroma?" her father cried. "It smells like partridge with crispy skin and wine warmed with spices." He drank greedily of his daughter's blood, and soon his cheeks were flushed, and the plague had gone from him. A servant had observed the whole endeavor, and word soon spread of the healing properties of Anastasia's blood. The townspeople came to the house, then people from the neighboring towns. Anastasia's father begged her to see sense and bar the door, but she refused to turn anyone away. Her blood was drawn into little dishes, from her wrists, her arms, her ankles, and taken out to the people who drank and were healed. When Anastasia learned that there were people too weak to come and beg for her blood, she asked to be placed in a cart, and she was taken into the countryside, from village to farmsteads and cities. She grew weaker and weaker until finally, in Arkesk, the last drops of her blood leaked from her body into a waiting cup, and her body became a husk that blew away on the wind. Sancta Anastasia is known as the patron saint of the sick and is celebrated every year with tiny dishes of red wine. So that's the story of Sancta Anastasia of the Grishaverse. Here's a picture of Sancta Anastasia, her red hair, and people collecting her blood in small little dishes. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's again by Leigh Bardugo and her Lives of Saints, but she writes wonderful, great fantasy books. And I'm cheering for you, Team Fantasy, and everybody else participating in our Unbound Readathon.